They do the counter pick. They're copying their opponents a little bit here, but okay. At the very least, you know you don't have that threat of the Invoker. I think that would have been where this draft might have ended up going, but what do you pick up here for Almisho? Okay, just the Lion. Very simple.
So that's not quite to the same activity level of the Earth Spirit that we were sort of talking about earlier, but the Lion can still make plays, gives you a lot of lockdown, a lot of maybe lane presence as well in the early stages. So Hokori have something more to work with. Of course, the Lion has to be careful. If you get jumped on by the Void Spirit, or honestly anybody for that matter, you die pretty damn quickly. But Hokori, with this lineup, they do have a nice bit of control at their disposal. You compare that to two-based, where it takes a little bit more setup on their side, at least just looking at what they have right now.
And this also feels like a deny pick. Of course, the Lion pairs up fantastically with Spirits just because those early stages of the game, you don't have that much damage, and Lion slaps you with 1,000, and I like it a lot. Not only are you taking arguably the best offlaner still in the pool, you have Brewmaster versus Medusa now. This is a situation where Hikori, they need a Blink Stunner now on their offlaner. Vitali has to play someone who's going to increase the tempo of this match. Not just the tempo in the match, but the tempo in these fights. If they don't immediately kill off whoever they start on, we're getting into those long engagements that Brewmaster absolutely loves. And your Brew versus Medusa. Medusa is not a factor in these fights. Even if you get that stone gaze off, you're in the air for a good 9-10 seconds. And then will your team be able to win the fight when everything is getting pumped into you? That is a question that really, I don't know if Hikori can answer right now. Because what do they pick for their offlane? Everything is going to get banned out here. They banned out some heroes themselves. So the struggle is absolutely real. Yep.
Mm,
And now,
yeah.
what are you going to end up playing if you're Vitali? He's going to be on like the D list, the far D list when it comes to offlaners. Do you ban out something like the Doom next on two base? That's probably where I think history serves itself the best. But at the same time, two-based have an incredibly strong draft here. And this is the problem with first phase Medusa. You are going to get counterpicked. You're going to get controlled. Of course, Void Spirit is not the most damage. He's not going to be the one killing the Medusa. But when it comes to control, two-based have just set themselves up to ignore it as much as they can.
Yeah, there's just so much of the opposing lineup that they can just kind of either ignore or in some instances just cut off before it even becomes any sort of significant threat. So Hokori, I mean, I don't really want to say that it's quite as simple as that, but it really does come down to it. This early Medusa pick, they kind of drafted themselves into a corner, and you don't have much room to pivot significantly when you get a Medusa in the first phase. And now, as you said, what do they do in the offlane? I mean, the Centaur is there. The Sand King was something that we did see two-based used to relatively solid effect in the previous match, so those options are still available, but neither one of them really feel fantastic with the rest of what Hokori have put together.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the list of heroes, and it's, do you look at a hero like the Axe? Do you look for something like the Night Stalker? It's just nothing feels fantastic. Centaur's still in the pool. Talked about it a little bit in the previous draft as just being your kind of latch ditch effort when it comes to finding someone comfortable to play. But all those heroes, if they wanted to, they just send the Monkey versus them, and then the Monkey King has the freest game of his entire life. So when two-based come to this counter pick, it feels like they can kind of just do whatever they want. I was thinking about maybe they double down on a hero like the Dawnbreaker, just try to find some healing power that will allow you to kind of stay alive in these engagements. But yeah, they just go with the
Okay.
Sand King. But they're double downing on an aspect of their draft that they're not the best at. Again, everything is about them starting this fight off early and fast. And
Oh,
there we go. Okay, Boris. This is a really good draft from Two Based, and I mean, they've just done everything in their power to make sure that now is going to have not only a very difficult but a very complicated game to play. He's really just going to get chased around the map. He's going to do a really good job of defending his towers when he's able to do so, but is defending your towers going to be good enough when you're not taking anything away from the anti-mage? An anti-mage who has the freest AM lane of really Boris's entire life. There's nothing that Lion SK could ever do to you.
yeah, not exactly a whole lot of potential there, unless maybe Boris gets distracted, maybe a pizza gets delivered, and he walks away from his computer for a while, but it just doesn't feel like, even with the amount of stun that Vitaly and Almisho have here, you're not necessarily going to be able to get it all off And if you are taking the time to get every single one of those lockdown pieces in place, then do you even still have the damage to kill Boris before he blinks away? So, I don't know. If Hokori somehow draw this out to an insane length of time, then sure, maybe the Medusa does something. But however farmed now is going to be, you have to assume Boris is going to be in the same ballpark, and it just feels like a matchup that they lose head to head.
And of course, there is, again, you look at it, there is a timing for Hokori where you are 2 items up on that anti-mage. And when I say 2 items, it's because the Battle Fury Manta is usually not enough for this anti-mage to make his presence known. But if Boris ever gets that 3rd item, that Scotty, that Basher, that BKB, there is just simply nothing for Hokori to do. That's where Hokori, as soon as now has his 2 items, they're probably going to get aggressive on the map. They're going to look for those engagements. If they can snowball the Medusa completely out of control, that is their easy victory. And it is going to be hard pressed for TOOBASED to get a lot of these buildings. Picking the anti-mage has doubled down on this lane setup in this situation that they're definitely trying to capitalize on, but the path for anti-mage has not gotten any easier. It's still going to feel hard to hit that mid tower, to push into the enemy jungle. You're biding your time, but you're biding your time versus a Medusa. So I can only imagine the TOOBASED are going to be happy, but there is those moments where Hokori, in game 1 Hokori, they definitely prove themselves to find those moments and push the issue. If they can find that, then they have that easy win versus TOOBASED where simply the anti-mage is just not ready.
Mhm. Yeah, that is. There's a point to be made there. I mentioned they're probably going to feel okay with the AM versus Dusa matchup head to head, but well, that's assuming that we get to a late game stage like that. So this is a bit of a weird scenario to try for, but as you said, if Hokori can maybe hit that timing a little bit earlier, well, there is going to be potentially a window there for them to hit. But before we can see whether they hit that window, we do need the Dusa to actually be in the game. That tends to help. We got a bit of a DC here at the start, so had to wait for now to get back in, but it's not much of a wait. So the Dusa will reconnect. We'll see if we can get things back underway here and get this game 3 started. As a reminder, this is an elimination series here in the lower brackets, so the loser of this game will be the first team eliminated from the playoffs. They won't finish in last place overall. That spot does unfortunately belong to Arkosh, as they got knocked out in the group stage,
Oh,
but
this'll work.
not last is not exactly a banner that you hang from the rafters, right? They would very much like on both sides
Now,
to keep this
that's
run
more
going
like
for as
it.
long as they can.
Yeah, but hey, Arkosh have a YouTube channel, go subscribe.
Now,
It's
that's
funny they
more like
announced that
it.
the same day they get eliminated from the tournament. Trying to capitalize on the name being in the news. No press is bad press.
Slacks is the marketing genius, just knows exactly when to strike. But we move from Arkosh to teams, actually still in the playoffs. The Dusa has reconnected, as we mentioned earlier, but we are still not quite ready to go here. So Hokori are maybe still trying to make sure that that Medusa is actually stable enough to play. I don't know if you took a glance at server status here for Game 3, because I did not. So I'm not sure if this is US East or uh, if we'd be playing on the Peru servers. I want to say US East, but fortunately I did
Here,
not
Now,
check.
that's more like
it's
it.
real easy because
What
you just look over
revelatory
at
is this?
not the South American players, and it looks like, yeah, we should be on US East here. Also see Badger in there had 15 ping. Man should play some more pubs with ping like that, but here we go. It's
Oh,
time.
lovely.
Unpause
All
is coming. Do we
right.
see smoke?
Yep.
Yep. SA team always smokes,
Now,
but
that's more
it's that
like
same
it.
story. If you can get a sentry into that Spirits camp, we saw that, fortunately for Ion didn't really have to deal with it because early on in that second game, he just absolutely bopped Soul in that Puck versus Void Spirit matchup. I don't know. Something happened with Soul in that second game early on. Didn't get to see too much of it, but there's no reason for Annihilate to go to the small camp because he was just busy denying out the puck every single time he got an opportunity to. Plays the same ward as the previous game, but let's see if we actually see that sentry placed in the Void Spirits camp. Super annoying to deal with, but it's also very telegraphed, especially if Gardic places
Now,
the
that's
Observer up
more
here.
like
If
it.
they find a sentry there, then you're most likely going to see them also play for that high ground. But TOOBASED are also just really defensive, actually. Valkyrie's in the Roche pit. He has no will to come towards those bot runes.
Hmm. Yeah, he's just kind of hanging out. And to be fair, I'm not really sure that this lineup has a whole lot of level 1 potential. So they are just going to sort of play it back and play it safe. But now, as you said, I Annihilate operating potentially without that side camp for a little while. So we'll see if we get aggression from Sol on the other side, right? This is a lane where with that Flame Guard, he's going to maybe have a bit of an advantage. If he can press forward, get Annihilate on the back foot, then you also won't have that camp to try to recover from early.
No, and it looks like, okay.
A bit of damage.
Bullying everywhere. Everyone is getting contested for these runes, but Hokori got a little bit ahead. Now it's just better at clicking, unfortunately, for TOOBASED there. But at the same time, doesn't really matter all too much. It's unfortunate they don't actually scout out that blocked up small camp, but we're just going for the long walk top. They're going to try for a first blood attempt here.
Okay. Thing is going to get a little bit interesting. Always is when we have a position for a Monkey King, but see what play can be made here, because Widge, he's really just here for a little bit of damage. He took the Tree Dance Primal Spring combo at level 1, so you don't have anything along the lines of a Boundless Strike, but it's still give it a try. Uh-oh, that's a problem. Vitaly just cut down the tree. Didn't even really know. Just picked one for the tango, so Widge doesn't really get to make much of a move here at all, and the question we always have when we see this tri-lane setup, is this actually something that they're going to look to maintain for any significant degree of time? Because your Brewmaster over on the other side, technically speaking, he can kind of just go by himself. The Medusa's not exactly going to push onto him anytime soon, so they're going to be comfortable putting him in the 1v2 as they look for first blood. Almisho, though, yeah, turns around for the Earth Spike onto both, and that is going to break that up. And now if Hokori didn't know about Widge's presence, they certainly know now.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Valkyrie over on the other side of the map, you're playing versus a ogre. That's not fun. You are just getting constantly harassed out by that ignite. Of course, the ogres nowadays, they always look for those big ignites on the two heroes, but the pressure is just there, and there's nothing Valkyrie can do. He's not dead, but that's still just really sad. And unfortunately, with him as low as he is with the wave coming in, he's not going to be able to fight for a lot of these last hits.
Yeah, when I said they might be able to leave him in the 1v2, I was just sort of assuming that now was kind of going to sit back, and obviously he is. He's not going to be diving a tower anytime soon, but all it takes is a Mystic Snake in the right spot. If he gets the right bounces, then he can do that damage from an insanely long range. So, as I said, in terms of rushing after kills, who knows? But you can push Valkyrie back, and I mean, he's pretty much even on experience in a solo lane. That is never a great sign.
No, and he's just trying to get the XP here, because of course Gardic is just going to chase you. If Gardic places himself between the creep wave and Valkyrie, there's literally nothing the Brew can do, and maybe the monkey comes after Valkyrie hits up that level 3, but there goes his courier. This is just such a sad lane, and such a good start for now. I mean, there's nothing going wrong for the Medusa in a lane that you really would have liked to slow him down, but I guess they say with their kind of awkward setup and draft where they end up going for this AM last pick that they just want to really secure this AM's lane because Valkyrie is completely sacked.
This lane absolutely sucks. Like, there's just nothing for him to do. I mean, you got to give Valkyrie credit for attempting to get anything out of this lane. The only problem with this play, normally you'd think, okay, fine, he's being sacked, right? But he's being sacked for our tri-lane up top that is accomplishing, as of yet, nothing. They are going to look for Almisho here, and they do get it, so I have to eat my words. They finally break through. Maybe now that is going to be the moment for them. But prior to that, we were sitting 2 heroes up here in a situation where you really didn't need to. Boris is farming fantastically, but not really sure that there was too much pressure on him, even if it had just been Empyrean in the lane to help him out. So now, maybe that shifts. Maybe they can start getting more aggressive. Maybe the AM can get more opportunities with his team picking up first blood, but it still just feels weird considering how much Valkyrie is being sacrificed.
You know, at the very least, Vitaly's having a pretty good bad time as well, but okay, they hit level 2. This is the big moment. Big Burrow Strike to save Almisho.
Not really. Oh, nice Fairy Fire. And now Vitaly, he sees his moment. He's going to jump in. Tower shots actually came to an end, though, so without that further damage, they're not going to be able to do much more than that, as Widge was 1 or 2 steps further back, so now the tri-lane is really starting to get stuff done. They found that first kill. They pushed the lion out of the lane. Almisho, he's actually not leaving just yet, but his regen is insanely low. He's going to want to play it back a little bit here. His creep, or excuse me, his courier is coming forward with a couple of salves, so that could change things up a bit, but good Widge in position. He's got the vision down.
You know,
Not sure he can get the kill himself, though.
at the very least, Boris does just do whatever he wants
Yeah.
here. Even though it's still a very good AM lane, if they're not playing like this, they're just bullying Vitaly almost as much as Valkyrie's getting bullied in his own lane. But at the very least, the Medusa's going to push in the wave with those snakes. So Vitaly has almost an even more difficult time and getting all the way chased down here and Imperium with the dust.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a problem, yeah. He did pop the Soul Ring, but he goes for the Sandstorm first, so he didn't have enough mana afterwards for the Burrow, and TOOBASED find a second kill. Things going relatively well on that front, and, well, looking over now towards the middle lane. Haven't really talked about this one too much, but it's kind of going the way we expected. Soul is putting multiple points up into that Flame Guard. It's not quite maxing it out at this point, but you look at Annihilate, he is still going to be falling a little bit behind because that camp is still blocked off over to the side.
Yeah, he knows about it as well, but at the same time,
hold
not
on.
much he can do. But Elmisho, yeah.
Misho.
Salve.
Thunderstrike is going to be there for the kill. Empyrean gets it. Vitaly, I mean, there's really nothing that he could do in that instance. The Sand King cannot defend his teammate, and now TOOBASED, well, 3 straight kills here. So we talked about in the draft Hokori maybe being the squad trying to go for the more up-tempo play, and that's really just not working out at the moment.
No, and yes, it does really come back to top. I'm surprised Elmisho, he's got at least one stack in that ancient camp, but they're going to try and stop these stacks happening as much as they can. Of course, TOOBASED can't really easily take or contest them when it does eventually happen, but as long as the Medusa doesn't have that to really fall back on, despite how good his lane is going, you're not going to accelerate nearly as fast. And now looking at top, I mean, Vitaly is just as sad, if not sadder, than the Brewmaster, who at least is getting the scraps from the wave getting pushed in. At least now the supports are rotating out, and Elmisho needs to be very careful here, but, well, he's just set up on.
Oh.
Okay.
At this point, well, the Void, yeah, he can just sort of come over to pick up a bit of a freebie. As Annihilate gets delivered a kill by his buddies, 4 straight on the board for TOOBASED, and this is just such a strong start for them. You don't think that, or excuse me, you think they're confident sort of after that Game 2 win. They're absolutely feeling themselves and feeling a shift in the momentum of this series. Of course, I'll dial it back a little bit here. We're 7 minutes in. There's still plenty of time, but it just feels like Hokori are not getting the laning stage that they really wanted. And it's coming down to the fact that TOOBASED are just getting so active right now. They start with the tri-lane top. You see Witch just moving around, so they know they want to remain on the offensive. This is going to kind of give the game away a little bit. That courier will be sniped out, and Elmisho knows that he's there now, but Empyrean's coming in. They could look for the kill anyway. Going in with the Primal Spring. Empyrean does not have a glimpse, but he does have the kinetic field, so Elmisho is still stuck in this fight. Boundless will stun him up, and Widge comes in to get the kill.
Again, it's something that TOOBASED have honestly done a really good job about, is just bringing the numbers to fights where 2 heroes are there. They're bringing 3 to engagements where they're getting those numbers advantage. Even though they should be falling behind in XP, it feels like they really aren't. You look over at Vitaly and Elmisho. Elmisho's game is more or less halted because as soon as he realized he needed to leave Vitaly top, and Vitaly's getting something top, the Lion gets just nothing. He has no lane. He's 0-4. He is really just the only hero that TOOBASED are being able to prey upon, but it's just working time and time again, and at least Vitaly has the pressure alleviated off of him just a little bit, but it's where items like the Battle Fury for the Anti-Mage, I mean, Boris is just walking towards that, and it's going to be a very, very early timing, because there really isn't anything he needs to do. And without the Ember Spirit coming to his lane, there isn't that kill hero. It's something that they are locked in their lanes on the Hokori side at this point. They kind of just have to play with what they got.
I think the biggest indicator, if you're looking to see it, how well is the game going for Boris right now, he went for the Claymore first, ET. That's just practically unheard of. Normally you always get that ring because you kind of need it to sustain in the lane, and that just isn't true. Boris did not need that regen. He can prioritize the damage first. That will really accelerate progress towards the rest of the Battle Fury across the first 10 minutes. So the Hokori are just doing absolutely nothing right now to deal with him, and it looks like they're actually just kind of going to give up on that pressure at all, because they're bringing everyone top. Literally everyone. This is 5 heroes rotating in, and not really sure what they can do. They could just go for the tower, I suppose, with the siege creep coming up soon, but this is such a heavy commitment for them, but it feels like it really is their only option.
Yeah, and it's something that two-based can't really contest with, and something that now does naturally much better than the anti-mage. He is the one who's able to show up just that little bit more, and okay, Valkyrie, he's looking for kills.
They see El Misho TPing out. Now is alone here, so... do
Um,
they have the damage for this? The tower goes down. Now...
they
Oh, he
left
doesn't have
Dusa.
mana.
They left Dusa.
What? What? Oh, sorry, folks, but the brain shut off. They left Medusa. If there is one thing in this game you are never allowed to do, it is abandoning your Medusa. There's two rules to this game. Kill the other ancient, don't abandon Medusa. That's really all you have to work with, and I thought that now was just going to TP out. He had the mana for it, but they drained through the shield quickly enough, and now, I mean, the heroes come back in. They should be able to get a kill onto Valkyrie here. I suppose to a certain extent that's going to kind of even things out, but you got the tower and you could have gotten the Medusa out of there safely. Just a weird feeling on that play.
Oh, and they all flooded their TPs mid because I think they were looking for a kill onto the Void Spirit, but it just is unfortunate because everybody gets dragged back up to that top side where unfortunately the objective is gone, and, well, Vitali, see ya.
That makes that even weirder. Now gets left behind, they back off, they come back in for one kill onto Valkyrie, and then the Sand King just kind of sticks around trying to take a wave or two and ends up getting punished, but to a certain degree, if you're looking for the sort of silver lining here, this maneuver from Hokori did succeed in shifting two base. You see them now making their way mid, looking for the tower. Valkyrie is going to get caught out, still has no primal split, so... I mean, I'm not going to give them the full benefit of the doubt and say that was a tactical death on now, but they have made the most of it, sort of forcing their opponents now to respond to their own movements, and they pick off the brew and they're in onto the tier 1 tower mid.
Yeah, and this is the timing. They
cut
gotta
down
go
Witch's
and
tree as well. Static,
That's bad.
thrown down by Empyrean. Witch, though, is still in trouble. Okay, more than a little bit of trouble as El Misho just guns him down with the finger, so...
Ooh, didn't proc on the Javelin. Otherwise, Soul gets that. At the same time, though, this is the power of the Medusa versus Anti-Mage. If you want to talk about that a little bit, the Medusa is able to be that Vanguard who is able to push into these towers, and unfortunately for two-based, you do not have good wave clear. You don't have that Rubik Wind Weaver who's suddenly able to cut and push out these waves, so all that damage is just immediately felt. At the very least, Boris, it has a 12-minute Battle Fury. It's an incredibly fast Battle Fury on the Anti-Mage, but you have to wonder if Hokori are going to be able to play in between that timing. Of course, we're in that same sphere. Boris needs at least 3 items. If he gets a Scotty in this game, then it's lights out for Dusa. Until he gets an item like that, though, there are still going to be opportunities for Hokori to make these aggressive plays onto the tower that really two-base just have to give up. But that is what their lineup is meant to do. Their lineup is meant to give up and then fight around Brew Split. If they can't fight around Brew Split, the game gets much more difficult for Boris, but that's where you already see them looking for some of these plays to be made with the Brew.
Yeah, Valkyrie's back up. The Primal Split is... Boy, talking's hard. Primal Split is ready, and they want to try and make a play. You see Widge just sort of hopping in between trees, trying to do a little bit of scouting. There's not a whole lot to scout out, though. All of Hokori just sitting back on their own side, because now has some just massive stacks to take here. Look at all these creeps. He is going to get through this fairly quickly, and, well, maintaining that separation between himself and the AM. Of course, with the Battle Fury up on that opposing side, maybe that gap starts to shrink a little bit moving forward, but for now, Medusa is in a very comfortable position.
Yep, and now it's got the absolutely correct build. It's in that very similar vein that Boris went for in the previous game, where you force heroes like the AM, like the Sven, to go for that MKB. It's never a pretty item for them to pick up. It always feels awkward.
Getting this quickly. Gardic still not dead yet. Valkyrie has to commit the ult, so now this is awkward. And Gardic, how is he still not dead? He is making a break for it. Here comes now in with the ult, and Valkyrie, I mean, his Brewlings are not safe.
Oh no.
Wow. I mean, Gardic just... For 14 minutes, he is so incredibly durable despite being basically broke. That just takes too long. They should have been able to get the kill without the ult. They're forced to commit it. They do eventually bring him down, but that's just way too expensive of a kill for them to go for.
Yeah, and now the waiting game will begin, but that's your most active tool getting traded out. They do need to be careful here, especially the Ember, and Empyrean, he's trying for the ward, but okay, there's your yields.
Bait the Remnant in. Do they have the damage? The Static Storm is going to be there. Widge comes in as well, so they should be able to get this. It's a nice attempt to dodge there by Soul, but eventually the Boundless commits and now actually got glimpsed away as well. So the Medusa isn't there for the immediate counterplay. Elmisho, worth a shot. Going in for the stun from the high ground, but not able to connect. So that is a much better play the second time around for TOOBASED. Valkyrie did not need to be involved, so he continues to wait for the ult to return, and they still find the pickoff, which ET is really something we need to see from them. It's just as important how they play without the split than how they do when it's active.
Yep, exactly. Of course, going on that Yule's timing, smoking, it just feels like an easy play, one that TOOBASED are always going to look to make, but that's where Hokori, having the blink almost finished up on Vitaly and actually coming on the courier, they are looking for that same exchange. They want to kill someone top, immediately get onto that tier 2 tower, and then get that tower pressure back that they haven't been able to get just because now is farming in his triangle, which is exactly what he needs to do. He's still farming up incredibly quickly, but that's where the more of these TOOBASED heroes can play in the waves, drag away Hokori from the objectives. That's incredibly important. Empyrean, that's the cost of doing business. Dies in the triangle. They see that Valkyrie's also rotated bottom, so you can only assume that Boris is making his way top, but they still need to find these kills. And Valkyrie, let's see if he's his own worst enemy in the bot lane, because he could definitely get caught out here with all these Hokori heroes collapsing.
He's got the TP. Realistically speaking, he could just leave, but I think he just saw that Bloodlust get applied, so he should know at least one other hero is here, and how far forward does he want to go? Is staying in the tree line for now. You do have a couple of heroes coming over to help out, though. Widge and I Annihilate both smoked up. That smoke gets popped. So they do know that there are heroes in the area, and that's going to sort of cut off the reinforcements. But by this point, Valkyrie has already gotten away. Or gotten out of the danger zone, I guess.
And I don't even think they want this play into the Medusa, to be honest. I feel like going on it right now is just a little bit too risky. At the very least, because of all of this posturing happening in Valkyrie.
Oh, they're going. They're on to Valkyrie. They've got the follow-up into the Finger of Death. Valkyrie not dead yet, but they do take him down as I Annihilate and Valkyrie actually both died there. They want even more. That's a nice glimpse from Empyrean, but Vitaly's the one who's continuing to chase. Actually, Soul in with the Remnant jump. They'll find the kill, and, well, if they had any vision there, that would have been huge, because Hokori, they fall back, they regroup, then they push in as 5. That entire maneuver is undetected, and TOOBASED didn't see it coming until too late, and the Primal Split never getting off really means that they have no means of turning that around in any way at all.
Yeah, and that is the big drawback of TOOBASED lineup. They need to walk at their opponents. The only way they start these engagements off, it's either with a Yule setup coming in from the Void Spirit, or it's any spell coming in from the Monkey King, and unfortunately, I think it's a fight that they would have lost even if the split does go off. They just brought everyone on the Hokori side, something that they continuously need to do, but it just keeps working. That's also just the best Earth Spike you could possibly ask for from Elmisho, clipping both the Sand King and the Void. It wasn't even on purpose, I don't think. He was just going for the SK, but it's unfortunate for I Annihilate, because it's deaths like those that suddenly result. Every single time they can get a result immediately after those picks and they're set up on the Hokori side, they're going to go for it. And this is butterfly timing. This is when you have your 2 useful items and Anti-Mage is still working on the Manta. Boris really can't afford to show up to the fight just yet. And if they bring it to them, it's a fight for the cliff.
Jumping in, Empyrean hit up, immediately going to get taken down. They are looking to try and move on to Soul, though, and they do have a lot of lockdown here, but is it going to be enough? Soul is falling back. Boris wants in, though, but the mana! He missed it the first time. He'll get it off the second time. So the Void does get applied and Soul will fall. Now they want more. They're going to try to get onto Vitaly, but now he's coming in, popping that ult. He's going to get thrown up in the air by the Cyclone, however, so that does break up the momentum here for Hokori, but once the Medusa's back down, TOOBASED, I don't think this is really a fight you want anymore. You've run out of time on the Primal Split. Valkyrie is trying to be as big of a nuisance as he can, and actually he's doing a pretty damn good job of it now. He's just focused solely on him, but here comes the reinforcements pushing back in for round 2, as they will end up losing Gardic. And now all of a sudden the Medusa's alone, now fighting inside the Static Storm as well, as Empyrean rejoins the fight. But do they have enough? They've gotten through the shield, but they need to get through that HP. No one has enough to really take this, though.
She's so tanky with the butterfly. They can't, I mean, do they go with the steps in 5 seconds here? They've got the glimpse. I mean, they could really take as long as they want here, and okay. I think they got her.
Into Boundless. Yeah, okay. That's finally going to be enough, but look at Soul coming in, looking to clean up. He took down Boris, and what more can he get? No remnants, so he can't jump any further, but they caught Valkyrie inside of that Roche Pit. They're going to jump onto him. Finger of Death deployed. And now, I mean, he dies, but he buys so much time that Hokori are able to get in, and find a couple of kills on the back end that are not included in that fight recap. So these numbers, obviously not quite what they were or would be after that back end of the fighting, but it's still a pretty sizable win for TOOBASED. They were able to clear everyone else out first and then slowly but surely work onto the Dusa when she was isolated.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you lose Boris there, but every single death on the Medusa, it just matters. It's just that important of a game, and I think if they keep that kind of tempo going, and they got what they wanted. They put her up in the air, they kept her out of the fight as long as you can. She tried to save the Ember Spirit there with the Stone Gaze, but fortunately for TOOBASED, it just ended up not being enough. But that fight only breaks out because Hokori are going for this aggressive warding up onto the cliff here, and they need it. That's their entrance into not only the pit, but that top tier too, and well, there's no reason for them not to do this. Split is coming back up, but I think it's still just going to be too fast.
They're going in for Roche, and they're getting it relatively quickly here, so not sure if TOOBASED are going to be able to make the move in time, or if they even really want to. They're not paying all that much attention to it at the moment, so Roshan taken for free, now gets the Aegis. The question at this point now is, if you're Hokori, where do you look to strike? You have 2 lives up on the Medusa, but now would have to give up on some nice sort of farming opportunities first. You see him taking the stack camps in the west side jungle, so clear through that, maybe look to push forward afterwards, but that is buying a little bit of time for TOOBASED to try and get those next major items up.
Yeah, and honestly, the Aegis does not matter in this game because, very simply, the target has not changed. You are not jumping that Medusa at the beginning of the fights. You are going for the backline. You're looking at supports. You're looking at the Sand King. Vitaly's not very tanky with his item buildup. He's very slippery. It's very hard for him to die, but if he eats an Aether Remnant, he is most likely going to get bursted off in the beginning of these fights. At the same time, though, Sol has also made himself not a target. He is just immediately gone for that BKB, of course. He's been getting a lot of the good kills and a lot of the gold in this mid-game, so he is going to have very nice timings, but man, he also has that point booster finish up. He's only 3,000 away from his Ags, and then game is looking a little bit hard, especially if he just gets to dump everything. But Valkyrie, he's got an Ags. Okay.
It's going to be the first primal split. Vitaly, meanwhile, not really sure what he does here. He's going to use the Yules. He's looking for the blink out. He did actually manage to get it while Witch threw down the Wukong, so there's a couple of ults being expended. Valkyrie, no, sending the Brewlings forward. There's not really a whole lot to accomplish there, but they're just trying to be annoying. But your Brewmaster has a second ult. He's actually going to pop it immediately. The tier 2 tower, though, already gone down, so well, where exactly is the fight here? This is just a bit of a weird situation. They're not looking for the engagement as half their lineup is still on the other side of the map, and well, that was a bit of a strange one. I think maybe Valkyrie thought he could get the second primal split before the tower went down, but that was not the case, and you take a look at it now, Hokori are looking to push the high ground. They get a ward in there for a little bit of vision as well, so this may very well force a response from the TOOBASED side as their tier 3 towers starting to take some damage, and now Vitaly's in, connecting onto Valkyrie. There is no ult available on the Brewmaster, so they're going to look to take him down as quickly as they can, and they do have the kill, so TOOBASED defense is looking a little fractured at the moment.
Boris doesn't want to come back. If he has that Scotty, then maybe he wants to return, but at the same time, Wage is looking for the creep wave. They're looking for the creep cuts, but Almisho, he's too quick.
Spots him with the Hex. Needs to drain a mana away to get that secondary stun down, but you have Sol coming in with the Searing Chain, so the Monkey King just has to hold his ground here, and there's not a whole lot he can do. He did delay the creep wave, so that's helpful, but the previous creep wave didn't actually die in the base, so now didn't care. He just kept on pushing. They take down the melee racks. The ranged will fall as well, so that's the top lane cleared out, and I mean, what did they have to pay to do that? I mean, they used Epicenter, I guess, but really not much else. Whereas on the TOOBASED side, they lose multiple heroes, and they use 2 of those ult charges on the Brew, who still doesn't have Primal for another 15. So it just feels like the defense was not well handled on that front, and Hokori push out to a 5k lead, and the Medusa's just going to continue to build up power.
Yeah, and more importantly, I think Sol is also just building up at that same level, and he's going to be a very real problem for Boris to deal with, because once he gets the Scotty, and Scotty is the item to kill the Dusa, he has it coming out as well, that's great. But when you pop your Manta to burn her mana to try and get that first life done, to try to get any kill with Mana Void, then this Ember pops BKB, looks for the chains on you, and if you are chainsed up and actually getting right-clicked or disabled by this Hokori lineup, you just die. There is not very much surviving in. Oh, Witch.
Oh, boy.
Oh, he didn't get his tree cut.
Okay. Nope, the Tali's going to be
Well,
there for the burrow anyway, so... Widge will be taken down. That leads into another push-up, and now the shard's been picked up on the Ogre, so... This Dusa has the benefit of the Fire Shield. In case TOOBASED try to make some sort of... Ooh, some sort of move. That's a very nice creep kill, though. Taking the Desolator... Excuse me, not the Desolator, the Daedalus out of the Medusa's hands. But... Well, now doesn't really seem to care. Continues to push. Tier 3 tower taken down mid. His teammates, meanwhile, did sort of fall back momentarily. Bit of a distraction being caused by TOOBASED, but now they'll look to regroup. And while all that was happening, nobody really made a play for the Dusa. Boris is TP'd back in now, but I just don't really know where their opportunity lies. They do get out the ult at least, so that Stone Gaze down for a little bit, and they should be able to pick up Gardic as well, but I'm just not really sure that's enough, especially considering they had to use a Primal Split charge on it, but at least their middle lane of Rax won't get hit up. They hold that for the time being.
they want to smoke, though. They want to get in the aggressive. They originally were, I think, planning of keeping Now there all the way up until his Aegis had expired, but Now knows himself as well. That is the only way he kind of throws this game right now.
Oh, Vitali wants in. They've caught Eye Annihilate. They need more lockdown. They've got it. And, well, I think they suspect now that there's an Obs Ward up there. Not a whole lot they can do about it at the moment, and what play can be made here? They're going to get the glimpse onto Vitali. He burrow strikes up onto the high ground, but honestly, he may have wanted to stay down bot because he is going to get hit up here. Static Storm won't be enough to kill him, but Boris does come in. Can they get any more? Almisho on the run. Boris wants to push his way forward. The Lion's going to get taken down. And now, here comes the Dusa into the fight. They're looking to turn this one around. His Widge is going to get taken out right away. Valkyrie did get off the ult, so the Cyclone is deployed. The Medusa's up in the air. Boris is looking to jump in. He's got the Mana Void, but they need to burn through the mana. They're going to look for Soul instead, actually, and I mean, it's a little bit of damage, but it's not nearly enough. And now Soul with the BKB active is looking for some revenge, pushing forward onto Empyrean for the kill, looking now for Valkyrie in the river. Can they force out that... Actually, they already did force out that other charge. He only had the one, so that's going to be Valkyrie backing away, and Hokori, it's a little bit costly for them, but they do hold the line.
Yep, they're completely fine. Of course, that all started with Eye Annihilate dying way back when, so he got none of those kills, none of the benefit from that fight, but Boris is still building himself up. We're still in this eventuality, especially if he gets an item like the Abyssal Blade. That's your kill potential onto the Ember Spirit. That's your opener right there. And he is still farming incredibly well. He's coming up on 400 CS 27 minutes into the game. He has just never skipped a beat here. Not to mention, also has the Elven Tunic, so that Medusa is going to be thinking about items like her own MKB, possibly if he does look for items like that Butterfly, and that's immediately where he turns. He knows the benefit of that item combo. If you get both, then suddenly there is absolutely nothing that the Medusa can do about you. And we'll see if she gets something like that, or if she's just going to stick with this Titan Sliver, but everything about this game now, neither teams are going to mess around. What can we do for this Roche? Are we going to get these item timings during that time? Are we going to get enough? What we need? Everything is going to become about this next Aegis.
It is worth noting at this point with the courier respawning that now will actually be getting that Daedalus out. It was sniped out earlier mid-delivery, so the damage output takes a rather sizable step forward. Of course, with the evasion, as you mentioned, from the Tunic, you still have to hit shots, but against everyone else, that Daedalus is going to be hurting pretty significantly, and now they're going to look to take advantage of it. Full 5-man smokes coming out from both sides. Where do they meet up here? This high ground is being pinged out. They do want the vision. We'll allow them to move forward. Widge. Okay. Nice play. Pops the smoke. Gets out of there. And, well, they're not really going to meet up much of anywhere. But you see TOOBASED, they're still sort of hanging around, looking to see if there's any sort of opening for themselves. But they don't want to push in just yet. So they will hold the line. Roshan, 90 seconds away on that extended timer.
Yep, and honestly, favors TOOBASED because you are building up those items still. You're looking for that next pickup from Boris. That's really going to be the game changer here. At the same time, I think you still want a little bit more time and speed up from the Void Spirit. You'd love items like BKB, like the Kaya Sanj that he's got queued up. Anything to make his life easier versus this Lion, because right now, we're still in that same situation where if Almisho starts the fight, whoever he starts on is most likely just going to get bursted. There's really not enough kind of fuel in the tank there when it comes to the tankiness department, and Gardic might eat this. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Actually didn't land on him. But okay. If they find anyone on the high ground here, they want to cut in. They want to ignore this high ground. because they know it's already in Hokori's control. They're trying to be sneaky here, but Gardic has also just got killer positioning.
He's backing away from the pit now, though. This is getting very, very tense for both sides as they've effectively swapped halves on the river. They see this courier, though, and the courier sees them, so there's a little bit of vision for TOOBASED as the courier will fall. But now, I mean, they have confirmation, but that's a big issue for Boris. He's able to get away. Vitaly, oh, he tried for the burrow, didn't quite have the range, and now he's going to get punished. Static Storm will be thrown down. Now is popping the ult, but not going to help his teammate. But look at Soul in onto the backline. He'll take down Empyrean quickly. Buyback coming in for both Empyrean and Vitaly as the fight continues. But Boris, he's the one dropping low. He's hexed up. He's taken down. Witch comes in with the Wukong's command, but it's too late to actually save the day. So Boris is dead. And he actually doesn't have his buyback available. So TOOBASED, they really can't take this fight. Valkyrie went in for that primal split, but it's just not going to matter. It comes to an end. He's forced to fall back while Widge gets caught in the river. Not dead yet, but Soul is really just, yeah, going to be able to do that. Slide a fist onto him will finish the kill. Another push forward as Valkyrie will have his TP canceled.
What did you learn?
And it just goes very poorly there. They get Vitaly. That's a great start, but the immediate buyback from the Sand King and then really the full sort of send for Hokori in terms of their team fight power. They just get now right into the middle, and Soul, if you want to take these fights on TOOBASED, you have to account for his whereabouts, because he was just able to push in onto any target he wanted, and they had no means of stopping him.
Yeah, not just that, and of course Vitaly pays for his mistake with his life, but El Misho gets his reset. He gets to hide around near his observer wards. Hokori just somehow find the kite over to their obs, and they always find who they want. And El Misho's second go, Boris just simply couldn't react. If he gets the mana, or rather the counterspell off there in that situation, then I think there is a universe where that Ember just gets cleaned up, he gets walked at, but without that knowledge or any sight of where that Lion was playing, there's just nothing you can do. And then, because of how tight this game has been up until this point, TOOBASED don't have buys, so it's not like they can fight in the pit further along, and it just feels like everything is now focused on the now. They've got Glyph on TOOBASED side, but they need to find anyone but the Medusa, but time is dwindling.
Yeah, they don't want to go in onto now with 2 lives, but as you said, tier 4s are falling. They've got to try and make a move, but Valkyrie's going to get hit up first. El Misho does get picked off on the back line, but that's a trade that they're okay with. Valkyrie's dead. There's no longer a threat from that primal split, but now they need to be able to defend the Medusa. Now is just too strong, though. Boris, he's dead. And he's dead with no buyback. He just straight up doesn't have the money, and yeah, the GG will be called. TOOBASED will lose every single member of their lineup, and Hokori are going to be able to take back control as they take the 3rd game and they win the series 2-1.
Oh, some cool ideas from TOOBASED there. Some really nifty draft, I think, points for especially that second phase. But I think, unfortunately for them, when it came to that opening with the Monkey King, they end up in this situation where they have no wave clear coming from their heroes. They don't have anyone who can delay this game out a little bit longer. Widge was trying those same plays he was making, and he did a fantastic job for what he had to do, but he's not that Weaver. He's not that Rubik. He's not able to push out these waves. He's not able to get them off the tower. I just think that first Aegis timing that Hokori were able to get was just a little bit too effective. Of course, you get Rax really early on in this game. That Rax literally doesn't matter, but then everything just kind of falls apart, and TOOBASED, they just needed to play just a little bit better, and I think maybe that one team fight just works out a little bit more for them. And really the problem that plagued them throughout the entire series is Hokori just had that vision advantage over them. I feel like time and time again, TOOBASED got a little bit too close to the eye spots. They weren't able to establish that same control. When they could, they looked great. They found who they wanted. They were actually able to get the targets that they would like to start off the game with. And you see in that final wraparound, they find El Misho, but El Misho has buyback. You have to commit too much. I think Hokori just played around their one win condition. It wasn't items. It wasn't those timings. It was just simply get the snake onto the buildings, and they can't really do that much. And I think, unfortunately, even the counter pick in the Brewmaster just ended up not being enough. And Medusa in a best of 1, I mean, they tried their best. They tried 3 counter picks, but at the same time, now just farmed way too effectively. And then he is more useful than your anti-mage at this stage of the game still.
Yeah. And then TOOBASED, it just felt like the overwhelming theme in that game was they had to pay too much to get anything in exchange. So there's not a whole lot that could be done about that. That's the lineup that they went for, and Hokori just sort of sort of outperformed them, as we have we have lost ET's camera. So, there we go. Hello, you're back. Sorry about that, folks.
Laggy.
Yeah, getting a little
Laggy.
laggy on this
Laggy,
end,
but
which I believe that means it's probably our cue to try and throw it to break here, as Discord is having a bit of a tough time. So we are going to be moving along to that next series. Congratulations to Hokori, though, as they take the series 2-1. We are a little bit behind the schedule, I believe, here, so we're not going to be having an interview from that Hokori side if I am reading the message from production correctly, which I am. So we would love to talk to someone from Hokori, especially after that series, but the show must go on. We got to get to that next best of 3. It is going to be D2 Hustlers going up against Black and Yellow. So an all NA matchup to close out the day. That best of 3 is going to be coming up in just a little bit, so stick around. We'll have the Game 1 draft for you in about, I believe, 10 to 15 minutes.